5 things that God gave to the man before God came to Genesis 1:28. And those 5 things are the foundations of the dominion mandate. If you don't have those 5 things, you may know the dominion mandate, you may preach it, but you will never exercise it. If you don't know these 5 things, we may mass produce people, send them to politics, send them to media, send them to the economy, but we will not see the dominion mandate. In fact, as we are speaking now, there is no sphere or strata in Nigeria that there are no Christians. The last dispensation that everybody is writing off. Yes, most of the leaders are from the other faction, but I can assure you that there were good number of Christians in that same dispensation, but we didn't see the dominion. And in case you want to argue it at the national level, there are some states in Nigeria that are Christian states. They all come to church on Sunday, but we didn't see dominion. Many of those states, salaries are not paid. Many of those states, nothing that government should do is being done. But everybody from the governor to the chief of staff, through all the ranks, were Christians. So dominion mandate is not to litter Christians all over the place. Christians will be all over the place if certain things are addressed first. If those things are not there, what we are doing are intelligent lectures. And so before God told the man to multiply, because you have to be careful what you are multiplying. Because it's not about the multiplication. What are you multiplying? What are you replenishing? That's why you cannot enter the dynamics until you deal with the essential aspect. You have to be careful what you are sending. What are you sending into all the worlds? Before Jesus sent them into all the worlds, he sat on them for 3 years. Because it's not just about sending. If it was about sending, Jesus would have sent people from the first day of his ministry. Because he had crowd all the time. Did you notice that of all the multitude that followed Jesus, at the end of the day, only 500 persons were sent? Because Jesus had 500 disciples, he had 120, he had 70, he had 12, he had 3, he had 1. Where are the multitude? Because in our own context of dominion is number. You come to media, we are the only people there. You come to government, we are the only people. But Jesus didn't think that way. Jesus had the multitude, he left them. And he selected those that he had incubated upon. Because dominion is not primarily number. Yes, number is a part of it. Because the glory of the king is in the multitude of the people. But what is the quality of the number? And so before we discuss the dominion mandate, we must find out who are the agents of dominion. The agents of dominion must first of all be born before we begin to discuss the dominion mandate. Because if you don't have agents of dominion, there is no mandate to execute. Jesus was with them for 3.5 years. He never spoke about dominion mandate. He was interested in making agents. Because it's not Christians that execute dominion, it is witnesses. And there is a difference between a Christian and a witness. Make no mistakes about it. The whole Nigeria today can become Christians. There will be no dominion mandate. It is witnesses that carry the dominion mandate. And if you study from Genesis, there are 5 credentials that every Christian, every witness carries. These witnesses with these credentials are the ones that exercise and execute the dominion mandate. And when you study the Bible, I list them quickly as I begin to expound. Number 1, Genesis. I want to begin from Genesis because it's the foundation. Before we flow into other tributaries. Number 1, Genesis. Chapter 1, verse 26. He said, let us make man in our own image. The word image is the word for glory. And the glory of God is the essence of God. Is the nature of God. And so, a people that can exercise the dominion mandate must be people that are dominated by the nature of God. Let us make man in our own image. You will notice that when the devil came, he didn't attack the mandate, he attacked the people. Because if the people are defied, the mandate is corrupt. No matter their number, it counts for nothing. And if you study Romans 3:23, it says, for all have sinned and falling short of the glory of God. The moment they fell short of the glory of God, if you like, have 1 billion of them, there's no dominion. No matter the activity they are doing, even if it is a spiritual activity, God will not be there. You can be doing church and God is not there. Because it is the nature that allows God put his credibility upon what is going on. And so the first thing, or the first qualification that a people must have before they begin to talk about the dominion mandate is the nature of God. Paul says, henceforth, know we no man after the flesh. Because if we know men after the flesh, they have no capacity to bring the dominion mandate. And so when you want to talk about the mandate, the dominion mandate, you are finding out, who are you talking to? Is it somebody dominated by the flesh that is talking about dominion? That person can have the biggest company. That company will have nothing to do with God's kingdom. At the end of the day, it will only sponsor flesh further. Because you will study that person and discover his life is in the direction of vanity. And it will become an ark that will take many others in vanity. And so the first thing God checks, which is important and primary before you talk about the dynamics or the spheres of dominion, is the nature of the people. Number 2, he said, let us make man in our likeness. The word likeness is the word character, attitudes, or expression, the ways of God. And so before you talk about dominion, a people must have been schooled in the spirit to a point where they think the thoughts of God and they live out the ways of God. If a man does not subscribe to the philosophy of the kingdom, he is not an agent of dominion. Give him 10 textbooks on the dominion mandate, he will not execute it. Because his ways are not the ways of God. If you study John chapter 8 verse 44, he said, you are of your father the devil. He said, the lust of your father shall ye do. Now, the people he was talking to were members of the Sanhedrin, Pharisees, scribes, and Sadducees, who carried very long beards, walking in the temple and putting burdens on people. But Jesus looked at them and said, you are sons of the devil. If you like, dominate the whole of Israel, the kingdom of God can't come here. Because what we are doing here is for your appetite. I'm not moved by how many of you are there. I'm moved by the quality of those of you who are there. And when he showed up, even though they were numerous, he couldn't see kingdom there. He said, you are of your father, the devil. Because they operated by the frequencies of lust. They didn't adopt the ways of God. They didn't adopt the ideology and the philosophy of God. And in summary, the ways of God is selflessness and love. These people were self-centered and they were living for themselves. And so God could not be glorified. And so with such a people, they could be intelligent, but they could not carry the mandate of the kingdom. In fact, they pride in the laws of Moses. They were custodians of the laws of Moses. You are not a man until you can recite the laws of Moses and interpret it. So this is what gave them their honor in society. Nevertheless, when Jesus came, he wasn't moved about their intelligence. He looked at them and said, no, your character is consistent with the devil. Your brain has what God says, but it's not reflective in your life. And so it's a waste to send you out. This is why Jesus left them and went for fishermen. You will think that these men already have influence in society. It would have been easy for Jesus to network with them and take over the systems. Even if Jesus hijacked the whole system, brood of vipers would have been in charge of the system and kingdom would not have come. And so when Jesus saw that these ones were in the likeness of the devil, he allowed them and went to the river bank and took peasants. He took people that had no relevance in society I would rather put nature in these ones and send them out than to give knowledge to those who are serpents. Because the nature is superior to the influence. If the influence is there and the nature is wrong, you will still represent the spirit that has influence over you. And so Jesus went for fishermen. If the nature is right, influence can be built over time. And so I rather go for nature than to go for influence. And he picked fishermen, people who were rejected in society, and sent them to the nations. Number 3, as you study along this line, you will discover the third thing that makes a man an agent of dominion is the presence of God. The Bible said in Genesis 3:8 that in the cool of the day, it said the voice of God came walking in the garden, and day by day God kept having intercourse with the man. And so a man who is a dominion agent is not in government, it's not in the economy, he's in the presence. It is in the presence he lives, and it's in the presence he exists. It is from the presence that he affects the government. But if you take him out of the presence and plant him in the government, another spirit will take over him. Because men were created to live within the circumference of spirits. That's our habitation. We cannot live outside the reality of spirit. And the reason the presence is important is because there are 3 things the presence does. The first thing the presence does is that it mortifies. It is the presence that keeps flesh in check. If the presence is not there, the flesh will go on rampage. You are creative. You don't just know because you don't have money. Wait until they make you a senator. That's when you will notice that the way you walk is not correct. You will have to change the way you walk, because it no longer befits your status to walk simple. You don't know until you have $1 billion. That's when you understand that it is an error to spend a weekend in Lagos. Lagos is noisy. The best place to spend your weekend is the Bahama Islands. Because after the noise, you need to lie down on a blue beach and cross your leg and let air blow on you. And you will lie on that beach until you will forget God. That's when you will discover that all these vital forms are fake. The only true bed is a water bed. The bed that massages. So when you lie on your bed, it should be rolling. It should be rolling. And they can bring 7 beds, they will cancel all until you get the spec you are looking for. And so the only thing that can censor your flesh and keep it in check is a technology called the presence. Because when the presence comes, the presence mortifies the deed of the flesh and kills it. The job of the presence is to kill the flesh. Because the flesh cannot glory in the presence. Every time flesh wants to ascend, the presence kills it. It says flesh cannot glory in the presence. The Bible said Samuel killed Agag in the presence of God. What happens in the presence is a technology of the mortification of flesh. And so when a man steps out of the presence, he becomes an agent of another spirit. He may call himself a Christian. The second thing the flesh does is transformation. The flesh is what opens you up to the light and to the voice of God. The presence is what opens you up to the light and the voice of God. Because as you go into the world, you will find many spirits whispering. You will find many inspirations come to you. You don't need to read a book. Go and work in the government. And then as you walk on a government facility, suddenly inspiration will start coming. Inspirations. What you should do. How you should cut corners. How you should lobby. How you should compromise. They are there. The spirits are already there. They are gatekeepers. Go into the economic chamber. Find 2 billionaires coming. You will see the way you will change. Even the way you greet them, you want to get their impression. Greeting will mean something else than salutation. Because when you greet them, you want to deceive them. The moment they talk to you, even your tone will change. You will add you will add some things to your voice, to get their attention. You will see that if another kind of light does not come to you, that it is not what man possesses that gives him value. If another kind of light does not come to you, that Christ in you is the hope of your glory, not a man. If another kind of light does not come to you, the territory will choke you with darkness. And so what the presence does is that it brings you into realms of illuminations. Those illuminations transform you, and that's what keeps you accurate in a corrupt world. And the final thing the presence does is transfiguration. It's transfiguration. He said, we all, with open faces, beholding as in a glass the image of the Lord, he said, we are changed. When Jesus stood on that mountain praying, he said something happened. He said the fashion of his countenance, Matthew 17 verse 2 and 3, was altered. There is a garment we have in the spirit. The more we tarry, the more that garment rests upon us. He was speaking about Moses earlier. As Moses was there for 40 days, a point came, the glory began to subdue the flesh. And literally you could see it. You could see it because the presence brings out the God element on your inside. And so when you step out, you are no longer a representative of the Yoruba clan. You become a representative of a dimension in Zion. Because when we gather as representatives of different dimensions in God. That's why it's called the ecclesia. Ecclesia, because everyone here is a rep member. And what you represent is a dimension in the spirit. When that dimension begins to take over you, it's called transfiguration. So you are no longer known after any fleshly tendency. You are known after that dimension. If these things don't happen, it's a risk to send men out there. They will be corrupt. They will be colonized by other spirits. And you will find a Christian that became a senator. He will not look anything like a Christian. You will find a Christian that became a businessman. He will not resemble anything like Christian. Because you didn't bring them into the presence and teach them that they must remain there. That's what gives them the capacity to exercise the dominion mandate. Number 4 is life. In Genesis 2 verse 9, it said God planted a tree in the garden. He called it the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He said, but there also there was the tree of life. And so a man who is a witness and a carrier of the dominion mandate is a man who eats the life of God daily. He eats it. That is his bread. The reason is because what you eat is what increases the quality of your existence. If you don't eat for 3 days, you will be immobilized. If you don't eat for 7 days, you can't go to the bank. If you don't eat for 14 days, you may end up in a hospital bed. Because this body survives by the food that comes from the earth. The same way, your spirit must survive on life. That's why, even in eternity, he said, they that overcome, he shall give to eat of the hidden manna that is in the paradise of my God. That's the tree of life. We will eat it forever and ever. But you see, the way we eat life now is in capsules of revelation. The word of God is the bread of life that we eat now. And so when you find a man who will have the capacity to exercise the dominion mandate, is a man that eats the word until he's saturated by it. He said, I found thy word, and I did eat them, and they became the joy and the rejoicing. That's an economy in the spirit. Joy is an economy. Those who don't eat of the bread of life, they operate at the realm of happiness. And happiness is soulish. So when you give them a black jeep, that black jeep can turn them on for 3 days. When you say, take visa to Dubai, they are all over the place. But because it is happiness, it will quench. But when you begin to draw from the word and eat it, what happens to you is not happiness. It's called joy. And joy can make you happy. But over and above happiness, the joy of the Lord is our strength. That strength becomes stamina to stand against darkness. And so when you go to the office and everybody is taking bribe, you say, oh king, we will not be careful to answer you in this matter. We will not bow. And they will tell you the fire is 7 times hotter. It's not zeal that you use to confront fire. When you get to Babylon, you will know. Because what you call the government, there is Babylon there. What you call the banking sector, there is Babylon there. And many persons will bow. And if you refuse to bow, they will bring the furnace. The furnace. The stamina that you need to reject the furnace is not in your head, it's in your spirit. Because you will know that Nebuchadnezzar does not bluff. If he tells you, he will do it. Because if they don't bring the furnace, they will bring the den of lions. You will go through hell many times. Because many times when they tell you to compromise and you refuse, they will put you in a pit for 5 years. Nothing will come. But even in that pit, they cut off everything. You will stand your ground. Because your strength is not your account. Your strength is the life that is in your spirit. The dominion mandate is not a lecture. It's a making process. The making process of warriors or warriors. This is why, see, we think the world is just a place of speaking English. No, there are lions there. There are furnaces. There is a sun god called Pharaoh there. Pharaoh will lick you up with his anger unless you come with a momentum that you cannot understand. And the only thing that gives you that level of momentum is how much of the bread you eat. How much of life is in your spirit. That's your stamina. The Bible said in Galatians 1 verse 4, it called this world a wicked world, an evil world. In Psalm 74 verse 20, he called it the place of cruelty. He said the dark places of the earth, they are the habitation of cruelty. There is wickedness. As you go into government, you will be shocked that they call it Federal Republic of Nigeria, but you will find Babylon there. Babylon that will make you compromise every day. So when you live there, you would have done more harm than good. When you go, you will find Egypt there. Egypt that will threaten you that you either leave your God or you don't go forward. And it's not a bluff. Sometimes they can put a spade in front of you and you don't make progress for 5 years. But you know that it's not the cadre in government that defines you. It's not the cadre. And so instead of bowing, you will stand your ground. And when the Lord turns again the captivity of Zion, even that which was taken away shall be restored. He said the hand of God came upon Elijah. He outran the chariots of Ahab. They may tell you to compromise and you refuse, and they stop you for 10 years and you don't change your mind. On the 11th year, then God will bring a wind. And the promotion of 10 years will come in one day. But at that time, hear this, the testimony is no longer the promotion. The testimony is that you are bigger than the promotion. The dominion mandate is a life. It's a life. How much of it do you have? If not, Lagos will swallow you up. Lagos. You think Lagos is a geographical location? No. There are spirits here called Lagos. And what they do is to put pressure and anxiety in your soul. So you pursue money and you become religious, but you are godless. My God, life is called stamina in the spirit. Stamina. When food doesn't come for 1 year, can you stand? When reproach comes for 1 year, can you stand? When you are denied a position for 5 years, can you stand and say, Lord, I know you are able to promote me, but in case they think because of promotion I will compromise, I will not. That's where the dominion mandate starts from. It's not a lecture. It's not English. It is war in the spirit. You think God will cook you? All of this were at the bedrock. He didn't just come and say have dominion. What are you multiplying? You are compromising, and then you are in the economy. They say God has a man there. No, it's the devil that has a man there bearing the name of God. Because what you are multiplying is compromise, is iniquity, is lies, is bribery. That's not kingdom. The mandate does not begin with proliferation. The mandate does not begin with population. It begins with witnesses. And it's better to have 12 who are witnesses indeed than to have 1,000,000 that the devil can scatter in a moment. Did you not read about the disciples of Jesus? They were killed, they stood their ground. When Peter was to be hanged on the cross, they thought he would beg for his life. He said, please, when you crucify me, don't put it upward. Turn it upside down. I'm not qualified to be crucified like my master. If you have one of such men, he's more than 1,000,000 men. Go and read the church history and find out the kind of men that the dominion mandate is recited to. It's not for everybody. It's for witnesses. And these guys continued like that. The disciple of John, called Polycarp, was the bishop of Smyrna. He was 86 years old when they came to arrest him. And they told him to run. He said, no. Run to where? When his captors came, he sat them down and welcomed them and entertained them. When they finished, he said, let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready. That's the man you can send out. And when they were about to burn him to the stake, they asked him to change his mind for the last time. And he said, for 86 years, my Lord has been good to me. Why will I deny him now? He said, go ahead. The Lord has given me strength to stand the heat of the fire. And he was burnt alive. And he never compromised. They spoke of Perpetua and Felicity. This was a princess, pregnant and arrested. Denied the master. He said, not me. They said the child is innocent, so let's wait until you conceive. And every day she was counting down on her debt. And she never changed her mind. Few days after she was put to bed, they carried her and her slave and took them to the arena naked and gave them one other choice to change their mind. They said they will not. And white beasts were released to tear them apart. You are changing your mind because of 1,000,000 and you are talking dominion mandate. What dominion mandate? White beast tore them apart. They stood their ground. Our generation needs to find out again what makes a witness. Because only witnesses are dead enough to carry the weight of the dominion mandate. It's too heavy for a man who is in himself to carry it. Is it this generation of gossipers? Is it this generation pursuing things, not God? There has to be an awakening first. If not, what we say will be lectures. This is a generation where young ladies fornicate to buy wig. A generation where men kill men for 4,000 naira. They will kill somebody, collect the money and go and eat a plate of food. To confront that kind of generation, you need the powers of the ages to come. You need something beyond English. You need something beyond intelligence. You need something beyond lingo. You need a witness in the spirit that when you speak, spirits are mobilized. When you read church history, one thing you discover is that they don't write birth dates. Nobody celebrates birthday in the early church. They celebrate death days. Because they are interested how you die, not how you were born. Anybody can be born. But how did you go? Because how you go can become a memorial for the church. A memorial. They are more interested in how you left. Because how you left is a testament of how you lived. Because your death will validate your life. And so they were interested in raising people that were first of all willing to die for the Lord. Those were the kind of people they sent out to all the world. Our sending forth nowadays is for ambition. It's for ego. I'm doing well. Dominion. The word dominion is war. It means take over. And when you want to take over, you will meet the princes. And so when they come, you must be fortified with the nature, with the lifestyle, with the presence, and with the life. When this four is in place, then God will commission you with his authority. That authority is what we call the mandate. The authority that God places on you. And the goal of that authority is, number one, to replicate the will of God where you find yourself. Your ability to replicate the will of God. Christians are not people looking for promotion or breakthrough. Christians are men sent to execute the will of God in different corridors. And so if you are in the government, what you are looking for is not a position to validate you. We don't have positions on earth. The earth has been judged. It said the elements of this world will melt. This earth has already been judged. When you are in government, you are there as a witness to bring the will of God. When you are in the economic world, you are there as an agent empowered with finances to bring the will of God. But you must first of all be conquered to be able to live and think that way. And so the reason we are having this session this morning is because we want to trust God to open the vistas of heaven so that we will see what every carrier of the mandate sees. Because the mandate is the authority on your life to administer God's will in your sphere of influence.